introduction there.
Hello and welcome back to PAWCAST. It has been a while, quite a long break at that. Glad to see you all here watching live. So today we have a very special guest, Culture Casino. And I have to say, I'm quite nervous because he is far more professional than I am. And we will be covering today movies and entertainment because it has been a very crazy year for movies, I must say. For both movies that we have asked for and haven't asked for and have yet to come out that might be good for all we know. So, without further ado, let me bring out my wonderful co-host, Tony Stark.
Who, me? No, you're thinking of somebody else. Hello, it's me, that one guy.
Congratulations on your 16,000 viewers.
I've been working hard and, living the dream to live, hopefully not to wake up to die. You know how it is, but happy to be here. Happy to hang out with you and with a longtime friend of my channel as well, our esteemed guest that we're going to be having on in just a few minutes. Would you like to do the honors of introducing him?
And Culture Casino.
There he is.
Thanks for having me on. Can I say this much? I did not know that I had to get steamed to be here. I didn't even press anything, so this is what you get. I'm grateful to be here though, and yeah, I've known Tony for a bit, and just getting familiar with Scooby, and I'm grateful to be here. I've been trying to make this happen for you for a few weeks, but yeah, once you're back from your break, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's great to have you here. I gotta say, I'm a bit rusty on some of the tools here, so. Yeah,
all right.
Tony, if you want to make him larger.
I can.
Oh, that's too big. No. It's small.
So,
Oh.
why don't you tell us what it is that you do and what you love?
I primarily focus on the business side of entertainment. I like to look at things and analyze whether or not it was a good idea to make things, which is going to be part of the stuff we're going to talk about today. I'm kind of excited. But the business of entertainment, whether it be on television, film, physical entertainment, such as theme parks, things like that, has always fascinated me. Was a huge part of my life used to be the Disney company and anything Disney was doing. It's just a massive part of that for various reasons. It goes way back into my family. But I'll just say that now I focus primarily on breaking down why films are profitable, not profitable, why TV shows are smart, not smart. And I also talk about the business side of a lot of different things, not just entertainment. I talk about the business side of political things from time to time and some other stuff. So really, my life is all about complaining about the mediocrity that we've been presented as the chef's kiss, which it's not. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Well, let's say hi to a couple of the viewers before we get started. Zalosi, one of the best mods out there.
There you
Real
go.
hard worker, I gotta say. Thank you for trying so hard, Zalosi. Rio, wonderful watcher, constantly here, regular, glad to see you. Zombie Box Reviews, nice to see you.
Yeah, well, my buddy Andy out there, good to see you, buddy. He's also a great mod, by the way, over on Mr. H for the HCast. So thank you for that.
And Scoobs, if you want to focus on your guest, I can go through the chat for you. I mean, I normally do.
What?
Anyway. Do you want me to greet the chat for you? You know how I like to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Uno momento, one moment. You're gonna like this. Welcome back to the return of the triumphant podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time to greet all of our wonderful Scooby Pup fans, listeners, and guests today. We got the great Sarah 3-Pete. Piranha Pout, it's a pleasure to see you. Zalosi, how you been? It's been a long time, but we have returned. Zombie Box Reviews is a pleasure as well. Look at Scooby Pup pulling double duty in the chat, as well as being our wonderful and gracious host. Hail to the great Cryptic Beats. I've not seen you before. A pleasure to meet you, my good fellow. Welcome to Galguna, Lord Dragon Eel, who is currently lurking, possibly working, possibly not jerking. I guess we'll know at the end of the day, won't we? The true Aztec Warrior, it's a pleasure to see you. Alongside Rio, Shield Wall of Dragons, and many, many more. Welcome to tonight's program. I hope that you all are ready to have yourself a bit of infotainment, as it were, from the great Culture Casino, and of course, some of my inane and otherwise mundane antics that some people are used to, but not many. Thank you again for tuning in. And look at this, double duty, quadruple your duty. How much duty? A septic tank's full of duty. Anyway, I digress.
In case you guys are wondering, that was the voice of one of my soon-to-be permanent guests, Alistair from Husband Hotel. So you'll see him in the future.
Wow, cool. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So
That's how I greet everybody at my stream. I'll be doing that again after this one.
Oh, wow.
So, as I said, this year's been quite an interesting year for the movie industry, entertainment industry overall, from crappy TV shows to good TV shows to movies that nobody's asked for to movies that people are asking for and will be coming. So let's get started. Now, what we've had come out right now so far have been a lot of live action remakes of animations or games. Question is, are these really necessary? They're not exactly.
That's a brilliant question.
Makers, but are they really, really necessary?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. I mean, when you look at the things that have come out so far this year, it's a lot of remakes and threequels and fourthquels and repeatquels and stuff like that. It feels like the video game industry is expanding into film and entertainment in a lot of different ways, obviously because of the Minecraft field and other ways. But whether or not something has the reason to exist is probably a better way that I would look at it, because when I look at something like Lilo and Stitch, it didn't really add much to the original film. When you look at something like How to Train Your Dragon, it gave you more depth, but what did it give you as far as the story? And when you look at something like Snow White, that just, in my opinion, had no reason to exist, because it didn't expand on or improve anything that had been done before. And if you're going to animate the dwarven characters anyway, why not just recreate the animated film shot for shot? What was the point of inserting some kind of agenda or message?
Or giving nightmare-inducing characters.
Yeah, well, there was one dwarf in there that looked remarkably like me with my full beard, but I can see where that would give you nightmares. But when I look at these things, I look at it, again, because of my business approach to entertainment, I look at it like, what did this really add to the marketplace? Like, and what is the financial benefit, or what is the potential disaster? And when it comes to remakes, I think many in the audience would agree, they usually offer very little in the way of a difference. Sometimes they're barely distinguishable, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. And clearly people still want to go to movies, or else they wouldn't go to live action recreations of things that they've already seen before. So, like, I'll give you an example. Something we hadn't seen before, other than in the gaming world, was Minecraft. Minecraft, a lot of people might argue, didn't need to exist. Yet, it had never been fully represented in a way with a concise and clean storyline from beginning to end to explore this world in a way you hadn't before. So when you look at the film overall, and you look at it from my perspective, especially here in the United States and North America, actually, because that's how we speak about the box office, it was a huge winner. The film itself, total gross and domestic earnings from its release date to now is $423 million. Now, that's just the U.S.
Damn.
So when you take that, you take those numbers and you add all that with the international distribution, which is usually equal to or as much as twice as much as domestic earnings, this film went well over $800 million and could maybe in the next, I love the cash register there, could actually be around $1 billion when it finishes. So I look at those numbers and I think, okay, I can understand why a studio would rush to make something like this. I can understand why they would pick people that they think would represent the characters that might exist in this world. And I can understand why Warner Brothers pulled the trigger on getting this into theaters. That all makes sense to me. Whether or not the film should exist is really about whether or not there's a market for it. There's an audience for it. And I think when you look at something like Minecraft, that's true. But when you look at something like and again, I always think remakes are reductive. But when you look at something like Snow White, that had no reason to enter the marketplace. There was nobody calling out for a live action remake of this. And outside of Disney thinking it was a slam dunk to get some kind of financial benefit from a property that was, my goodness, one of the oldest one of the oldest animation properties. In fact, the oldest animated feature of all time. This was always most likely to be a loser. Mm-hmm. So again, you're looking at something like that and knowing full well that after the initial round of trying to make that film, that you were going to have to go back because of the unpopularity of the theming and because of the other things that you added to it that weren't in the original and the strange characterization that, you came out with originally. I mean, does it surprise anybody that Snow White was like opening to like $87 million domestically? I don't think it could surprise anybody that there wasn't an audience there. Disney knew there wasn't an audience there because they shot or reshot this film twice. They knew that it wasn't going to be received well. So why put any more money into it or any more effort? I don't know. Do you think I feel like I'm dominating the conversation, but I'm very concerned
believe
that
you established your points. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that could have that happened to Snow White was, as we mentioned backstage, for many cases in remakes, is casting.
exactly 100%.
They
In
had
fact,
100% bad casting for that one. They could have chosen so many other actresses out there, and they chose to go with Snow Brown because Disney and their politics.
yes.
And that is one thing that has I noticed has taken part of in a lot of the live action remakes. Lilo and Stitch, for example, when the cast was announced, people were upset with the cast that they weren't from
writing for
Hawaii,
Lilo and
but
Stitch.
some of them were.
Right.
And then, of course, you have How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
The girl in there, you can barely tell. She just looks like someone who has a tan.
Yeah, Nico Parker wasn't necessarily a bad casting for that
No,
reason.
she did her job. She did a good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah,
I saw the movie. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good to the original, but for certain animated films, you just don't touch it if it's not broken.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to establish a little bit more on the crux of the observation. One of these things here is not like the other. One of these things is not the same. The Minecraft was established at the beginning to be having a target audience that is not us. We were not the target audience for this film. You weren't the target audience for this film, Scooby. I wasn't. Neither was Culture. It's established for that early Zoomer, late millennial crowd, because of the meme references that came with the game, the nods to the game, and the silliness that came with the community that was wrapped around that game. That is the reason why it was so successful. Everything else here was stuff that we watched when we were younger that was unnecessarily rewritten, redone, recast, retconned.
Right.
Snow White being the biggest offender here. Nobody wanted this film. And Disney falls into that category, to quote another creator by the name of Ryan. Disney, much like the BBC, has a massive star fleet of assets that they can consolidate for their political agenda. They don't care if they blow money. They just want to try and meet the status quo of the shadow investors, of the folks like BlackRock and stuff that's lining pockets in the back end, just to say, did we do good, man? Did we do good, guys? That's the reason why Snow White failed. Lilo and Stitch's total disregard to family, the Ohana means family being completely thrown out the window, was the worst writing decision for this retcon.
Right.
The alien looks good. The other aliens look good. The ships look good. But that's it. If I want to watch more Lilo and Stitch, I'll just pop in the animated series from XD. I ain't got to worry about watching
I used to watch the animated series
so
much. I would make my grandmother, when I visited my grandmother in California, whenever she and I went out, I would make sure that we were back home in time for me to catch the Lilo and Stitch animated series. When the original came out and I saw it in theaters, I loved it. Snow White, it had potential. The idea had potential, but it was
it did in 1938 too. But who's digressing?
I mean, look at Cinderella. Okay, Cinderella, they did a pretty decent job. They got lucky with that one.
Yeah.
Maleficent. Okay, it was pretty good. It was done from a different point of view, but it was still pretty decent. Alice in Wonderland. I'm sorry, I didn't know where that one went to. I guess for Alice in Wonderland, they wanted to try to stick more to the book, where if that's the case, they did a good job. Snow White they were given so many opportunities to pull
Yep.
it off well and do a job well, but they didn't. Too many rewrites, too many reshoots, wrong cast, too much controversy. Disney really put their foot in their mouth with this one, and it really should have just been overall canceled. It really should have. For How to Train Your Dragon, I think that was one of those movies where it was like, where they probably had the thought in mind of, I wonder what it would look like if these things were real. And that's probably what maybe was in their head. I don't know. Making it try to look as realistic as possible. I mean, I think as kids and even as modern kids, we've all had that moment in time where we're watching something that's animated and thought to ourselves, I wonder what this would look like if it was real, especially if it came to something like a dragon and whatnot. Minecraft, on the other hand, my niece, she and I don't get a chance to go out to movies and stuff together. She wanted me to take her to a movie. I said, okay, you pick. She said Minecraft. First thing that came out of my mouth was literally, no.
Oh boy.
And then my brother got on me. He was like, you never, I was like, okay, and we were in a bookstore and I said, so what makes you want to see Minecraft so much? And she goes, I just want to hear Jack Black say, I am Steve. That was the only reason. That was the only reason. I sat there throughout the entire movie just so I can hear her say, wait to hear Jack Black say, I am Steve. Hear cheers. And I'm like, let this end. Let this end. And it was like, then all the memes are just popping out. It was a movie for memes. That's all it was. It was a meme made movie. Kids were there, yay, woohoo, yay, chicken jockey. It's like, please just shoot me now. And even people my age were actually like, chicken jockey. And I was like, no.
Welcome to a world where people are only able to dedicate about 10 to 30 seconds of their attention span to a one
After
line.
that, the first thing I did as a palate cleanser, the next movie I did when I went to a theater, I saw Sonic. I saw Sonic 3.
Sonic 3 was good.
Sonic 3 was awesome.
Sonic 3 was good. They jumped the shark with the dual Robotniks, but that's what made it fun. But I digress. Again, Minecraft wasn't made for us.
Yeah.
It was made for the people that like to watch 10 to 30 seconds and then move on. The TikTok crowd. That's why it was meme after meme after meme after meme. Because they're not going to remember the meme that they threw at them 10 seconds ago, a minute ago. And that's why it did so well. So, but, you know, Snow White, obviously, big insult. Same with Lilo. How to Train Your Dragon, this was not necessary in the fact that it really didn't add anything new. It was just a copy and paste nothing burger. It was just it was almost the same film. So I was just like, meh.
I mean, with the money that Minecraft made, they're making a sequel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
probably a
how
third
they're going
one.
to go with the sequel is beyond me.
They're going to introduce mods.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot that they'll reach into, grab from the lore of the game itself and some of the undiscovered places that were recently discovered, and some like the Underground Railroad and everything else that's hidden in the game. But there's a lot to be explored in Minecraft, I would imagine, if you have a creative writer, which they did in the first place. But I can see the point of why do we need a second film when it comes to that question around Minecraft. But I think the first question should always be, why did we need another Snow White? I still think this is the biggest blunder I've ever seen. The biggest waste of $270 million, which we know is far more than that, to be fair. And it didn't even, globally, it didn't even make but just a little over $200 million in the box office, which means Disney is underwater to the tune of $270 million on that film.
Big red.
Yeah, that's
So this entire year for Disney, whether it be superhero film or otherwise, is just a giant red blotch on the ledger. And the streaming side is just a giant red blotch on the ledger.
This also, well, don't know what happened there, but this also goes back about a year or two ago. The live action Lion King, something we didn't need. Pinocchio, Dumbo, things we didn't need.
Dumbo was rough. And so now Lady and the Tramp was streaming only, but that was rough too. If you got a chance to see some of these things, you're like, why is this live action and why is there so much animated stuff in it? If you look at one of the biggest blunders for Snow White, it was listening to the guy that pulled the ladder up from behind him, for all the midget actors or, little people actors that could have been out there. It frustrated me that they let the opinion of one permanently grumpy little guy destroy the potential for not only the actors that are little people in that community, which it's a history of filmmaking tradition, not being employed, instead animating the fright mirrors that you already called out. So you look at films in a way, if you're a filmmaker or you're a studio that's trying to stay alive, like Neon or A24, or Angel Studios. You literally have a bunch of independents that are worthwhile and make, pretty decent films that are profitable. You should never make a film if you know that there's no money at the end of the rainbow. And like I said, if you've thrown good money into something that's going to be a disaster, stop throwing money at it. Stop remaking it. Stop reshooting it. Stop trying to make something that's a turd, into a polished turd. There's no point. I look, and again, you brought up a lot of great points. Lilo and Stitch did surprisingly well compared to what my expectations were for that film, but I think it's finally hit that box office wall, so it's not going to make the 1.2 to 1.6 billion that was potentially projected for it. So it's not going to actually lift the ledger up for Disney's sake. They're still in an ocean of red ink right now, and they're only adding to it with the film that just came out this weekend called Elio. Are either of you interested in seeing Elio?
Oh God, no.
But and here's the other issue that I think nobody talks about, and something that I'm going to be talking about all of this coming week, is superhero films are dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if Superman is good, and I've been cynical about this film. I'm trying to go in with a positive mindset because I want it to be good. But even if it is good, it's not going to make $1 billion.
No.
It's not going to revive a superhero genre that's been absolutely destroyed by the likes of Zack Snyder and Disney. Marvel's pointed a film that isn't Deadpool and Wolverine, which was just a celebration of Fox's reign in the superhero genre. Show me a film outside of that was a profitable success, something that the studios could be proud of. Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine, maybe. And then prior to that, it would be Spider-Man, but that's really technically Sony.
Werewolf by Midnight.
Yeah, that wasn't. But financial success. Yeah, and that's and that's the other problem, because you've divided your audience between film and streaming. Mm-hmm. You've decapitated your earnings.
Correct.
You're eating your own leg. You're a horror or I can't say the word right now. Forget it. Anyway, you are a snake eating its own tail at that point. Thank you for
Ouroboros.
That's what I said. Ouroboros. That's right. But that's what you've become, and that's what Disney's become. Marvel specifically. But if you look at all the IPs that Disney's destroyed, what do they go back to? Like the Escape from Witch Mountain. Do you go back to the Cat from Outer Space? What do you do if you're Disney at this point?
I
You
hope
got
they don't do Flight of the Navigator. That's for sure.
that's actually been rumored to be in pre-production, but
Oh,
Yeah,
I hope
I
not.
saw when I went to Disney World, I saw and because every studio has a vehicle graveyard where they just throw all their old cars and props out there to be reclaimed by nature. Seeing the ship from the Flight of the Navigator surrounded by Florida foliage broke my heart.
Oh,
it was collecting weeds, wasn't it? So yeah, and look, I mean, let's take a look at the superhero genre on top of it, because this I love talking about this stuff. You guys know that, but look at films like Captain America: Brave New World, which I call
oh,
Captain Anti-America. That film domestically only performed to $200 million,
that was a horrible movie.
and that's domestically. And if you look at that trajectory, with the money they spent on it, how little it earned, and what the international gross was, which is it barely doubled the domestic numbers. You made a film that you could not make profitable again. Disney hasn't had profit center in their cinema in a long time, and the period of time that they did, they were able to use what was left of their flywheel and use that synergy to make a lot of money. But that's gone. Nobody is going to be nostalgic nor want to revisit Captain America: Brave New World. Nobody's going to want to revisit Thunderbolts, which was recently released.
I think me and a lot of people at the moment are kind of miffed at the direction that they went with Thunderbolts, with the hysterics, saying that, oh, they're going to be the new Avengers.
I thought
And
that was
I thought that was really, really stupid.
when they did that. When they did that at the end of the film, the first thing that ran through my head was Pete Venkman going, "And the flowers are still standing." I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? That is so dumb."
Well, yeah. They
Yeah.
did a lot of really dumb things, but
Yeah.
domestically, you made $189 million on that
Yeah.
movie, and then internationally, you made 191. You couldn't get it to 400 million. It's 380 million in performance globally. Again,
In hindsight,
another. Go ahead.
in hindsight, it was more entertaining than the idea, that is more entertaining than Young Avengers.
It's actually structured to be a film. It's actually got a 3-act structure, and the writing is at least subpar.
Yeah.
Versus
And
what
it-
is.
it's
I mean, it's.
and the idea is a lot better than having the Young Avengers.
We're so
Exactly.
used-
And
We're s-
we
sorry.
we missed something that would have been a complete disaster, and you're right, and so is Tony. But you guys are leaving out the most important thing. It was in focus.
Mm-hmm.
The whole film was in focus.
Mm-hmm. Everything was
That's-
so crystal clear. At
That's
least.
when I am trying to make when I'm trying to say something positive about a complete disaster, I always return to that old adage. Well, it was in focus. You can't say that about every Marvel movie either, because
No.
the CGI is so terrible lately that doesn't it look just muddy on the edges? I'm not the only one that sees that,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
it looks,
And
especially
it's
for
even worse
Multiverse
with
of
3D
Madness, that
filter.
was bad.
Yeah.
I think they do that to help the 3D pop out more in their 3D filter. That's
It
my
doesn't.
theory.
Can I say it doesn't work? By the way,
Yes, yeah, it doesn't work.
I always thought 3D was one of those cyclical things that would just keep falling into cinema to try to gin up new interest, or get people to see projects that maybe the other eyes wouldn't see. The problem is they kept doing them regularly after the fad had worn off. Thank you, Avatar. And now we get these films in 3D that people could care less if they were in 3D or not. I mean, I'd rather see something on the largest possible screen, something like, the actual shot with IMAX for IMAX kind of thing.
I saw
And go ahead.
Nightmare Before Christmas during where I live, during the anniversary.
Mhm.
every Halloween they would bring back Nightmare Before Christmas, but they would only bring it back in 3D and in select theaters. And it was always in the theaters that had the largest screens. And I went there to see it. I went to one of the theaters to go see it with my buddy Jamie at the time, and she and I were stoked because we thought it was the type of movie that would be perfect for 3D because we had seen Coraline in 3D and it was amazing, and we saw Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D and we were blown away. And there are just some movies that can pull it off amazingly well, and there are some movies that are like, why are you doing this?
I think the animation was partially to blame because it was so designed for 2 dimensions. It could have been shot in a different way and it would have been really amazing in 3D. But I love Nightmare Before Christmas. It's one of my favorites. I actually have a jersey with Zero on it, baseball
Very,
jersey.
very nice.
I love Zero.
So I'm a freak when it comes to that particular film and that particular art design and how they went about doing it.
You'll have to tune into the Woke Before Halloween. Sean Carter and I wrote a song parody for just about every song in that film. In fact, it's a highly requested song that I get all year round called Tony's Lament that I usually sing on the matinees to Jack's Lament. So, yeah, I have a special spot for that film as well.
It's funny how there many of us, especially the people that are horror fans, really do appreciate that one creation. So, but when I look at the risk versus reward when it comes to making a project, especially films, I always want to identify who's the audience for this. Studios stopped doing that. It used to be a business question you had to answer. And now when you do a pitch and you're pitching a project to a studio, all you do is make, it's like this plus this, it's all recent films. Like, it's this with this and that. And that's how they pitch these projects, because they have to give the people that are making the decision kind of just a relative understanding with more recent films, because nobody is educated enough to have gone back and actually watched the catalog like I did. When you go to film school, one of the best things you have is you're going to be taught the history of cinema in various different classes, but intro to film, when you take that course specifically, you walk through every era. You see examples of that. You are in a compare and contrast position between Buster Keaton and Charles Chaplin. I mean, it's just this is the path you're pursuing if you want to do this professionally. You want to understand the theory of film and everything else behind it. You need to do that. You need to walk through from the silent era to the talkies. You need to understand Al Jolson and the jazz singer. You need to understand where things started to where things are. And unfortunately, because of the catalog that we have now, and when I went to school some 30-some years ago, the catalogs are growing. So the class has gotten bigger. So nobody studies film anymore to become a filmmaker. I almost truly believe that. That's why you get a bunch of these music video directors that are directing films now. Like this new Sheffer guy. He's going to be. He failed with the Thunderbolts, so they're going to let him fail again with X-Men.
Isn't that nice that we have a bunch of people that nowadays that don't even understand the basics, doing what we grew up enjoying? Like, I just think it's hilarious that films are being produced and directed and marketed by idea guys. I mean, anybody could be an idea guy.
Well,
for example,
it's the tech bros.
Yeah.
Right? And for example, when it comes to pitching things, everybody's run out of ideas. You got those people out there that have really good ideas, but you're just not picking up on them.
I redact my statement. Nobody can be an idea guy. You're right. Carry on.
There are some people out there that have good ideas, but instead they're picking people that have the same idea but just want to expand on it. I love Godzilla. I love it with all my heart. But pitching a Godzilla movie has to be the easiest damn thing in the world. Godzilla fights this monster.
The end.
Let it go. We'll do it.
Essentially, in a nutshell, you're right.
That's essentially pretty much every Godzilla movie. Okay, it's been like this. Okay, yeah. Okay, Godzilla fights this monster. Okay, next movie, Godzilla fights this monster. Okay, do we have humans in there? No. Audience doesn't like humans, just the monsters. Okay.
You know what? Godzilla Minus Zero
Oh, so
was
wonderful.
so well done, and I saw it twice. I saw it minus color
Yes.
as
I have
well.
them both.
Yeah, but when you see that movie, it gave you a different perspective of Godzilla. Not only the origin, and obviously the transformation, which is what the Godzilla monster we'll see in the next one's an additional transformation, but it is Godzilla versus people. If you brought people in, it was to tell a story around the people, but in real fear of the monster and the people working together to get rid of the monster. The next film is going to feature another kaiju, and we'll be off to the races on that. But I've always felt like there was too much. There was never enough discussion about the origin, and that's why I enjoyed Minus Zero.
Yeah, Minus Zero is an
Or
absolute.
minus one, excuse me. Minus one. I just said minus zero.
Minus
Sorry.
one
Yeah.
is an absolute favorite of mine. And then you have Shin Godzilla, which is also
Yeah, also
another
great.
one, and getting
Yeah.
re-released
Googly
into
eye
theaters this
protoform.
August.
The protoform with the googly eyes.
Yeah, and that's getting re-released into theaters this August.
I
That one has a
just
completely different backstory.
yeah,
And
I did a watch party with my audience for my members. I did a watch party with them of Shin Godzilla. I think it's one of the greats.
and then of course, as I covered with whenever I talk Godzilla, I normally do it with Sammy Threepeat. There is going to be a sequel to Minus One. They're using the same cast, the same directors, and everything. So I'm happy about that, which means it's going to turn out pretty good. Godzilla X Kong Supernova. I'm nervous, but I'm also excited because they're bringing in Space Godzilla.
Yeah.
Shoulder pad, Space Godzilla. Here we come.
Yeah. But again, there are some movies that there are some movies out there that you can tell they're just either reboots or they're based off of a movie that's already out there, and they're not meant to be a spoof, but they're coming off as a spoof.
About 75% of what we see released nowadays is usually something that has been released before, and in most instances in a better time because it was an original idea. It intrinsically is part of the problem. It's what's causing superhero fatigue. Like culture says, yeah, it's not going to break 1 billion. I honestly think it'll probably make maybe 650 million worldwide with 420 domestic. That's my projections for it. I don't know if culture's projections are similar or not, but
Close.
I mean, it's going to do okay. It's going to hit the black for sure, but I don't think it's going to.
I think the only way we're going to break out of superhero fatigue is if we get a damn good superhero movie that'll pick things off the feet.
Infinity Saga is enough.
Be it from the DC universe or from Marvel. What we need is a good slap across the face with a good superhero movie.
Well, I want to make a point here. All right, let's make a point. Okay, Akira Toriyama, God rest his soul, when he did Dragon Ball Z, his initial goal was to end it at the Frieza saga. Frieza was the ultimate evil. Frieza was the ultimate goal. Frieza was the threat to the entire universe. Goku became the legend. Goku defeated the ultimate evil, passed the buck to Gohan, and the show should have ended. That was his original intent. Then, of course, the fans were like, "Oh, we need more. We need more. Then there came Cell,
Enter the
and
androids.
Blue, and GT, and Z, and all Super, and all this stuff. No, I could go back and I could watch from Dragon Ball Classic through the end of Frieza Saga and enjoy every waking moment. Anything past that, and as much as I like voicing Perfect Cell on my show, I understand that Cell still has. He's not comparable because the storytelling methods of going from a boy in the mountains to the savior of the universe, that's a good hero's journey. That's a good way to end it. Every good book, every good story needs an ending. The same can be said for MCU's Infinity Saga. All right? It assembled everybody at the beginning. There was some mediocrity in the middle. At the end of the day, the hero's journey was done. The ultimate evil threatening reality was punished. It should have ended. It should have been done. It shouldn't have. There shouldn't have. I am Iron Man. Exit stage right. Done. Done.
Spider-Man No Way Home, that should have ended it right there.
Yep. Probably the best of the movies, especially with the 3 Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of these properties, and this is a conversation I had with Bo the History Bro from Lotus Eaters podcast. He's got his own channel. He talks mostly about history on his own channel. We talked about the appeal for these various franchises, and we also alluded to the fact that there's only a limited window of opportunity to exploit them, utilize them, take advantage of them, whatever your terminology is. And, when it comes to the MCU specifically, I think you have global interest collapse. I mean, we need to stop using the word superhero fatigue, because I don't believe it's all superheroes.
No.
I think there's an interest collapse because we've had no good stories, because everything has been a lecture and or a combination of that plus a miscast, as SCOOBYPUP is saying so kindly. I would say it was stunt casting, and it's oriented around politics. These are all issues with all of these things. Is you are perverting. I know that's a strong word, audience. Just hang with me. You're perverting the original. You are perverting the original story. You're perverting the original visual representation of your character. You're perverting things by adding in a bunch of non-aligning ideology. I mean, there are places you can add in a conversation about socialism, but Ant-Man Quantumania wasn't one of them.
Correct.
It's just like, it may be an offhand statement to somebody that they can dismiss, but that was the ideology of the people that were making the film, not of the character in the film. Very, very strange. And look, those films are becoming easy to spot for the audience, which is why global box office collapse is occurring. Superman, because of James Gunn being James Gunn, and James Gunn prevents Superman's James Gunn, that's going to be, a hurdle now. Everybody sees this guy's ego on full display, and unfortunately, while brilliantly outlining the phase 2 and 3 of the MCU's saga through where should have been its endpoint at Endgame. That was a good place to not only call it a quits, as you guys have suggested, but I think that at that point maybe James Gunn should have focused on something else. I don't think he's equipped to run DC Studios. Peter Safran probably is, from the financial side of things, because he's pretty good with the numbers, and he's kind of a
guy doesn't have talent. I mean, he could have.
Oh, yes, he has talent as long as he's working with what he knows, and what he knows is witty one-liners, sometimes toilet humor, an occasional non sequitur to shake things up, and a gritty plot. Look at Guardians 1 and 2. If he's got Nathan Fillion and Michael Rooker in his film, which he 90% of the time does, he even with low budget films. Remember a little horror film called Slither? I'm sure Culture Casino knows that one quite well.
I never saw it.
That is prime cut James Gunn. That is prime cut James Gunn because it's still campy enough to identify itself as its own film and still be able to be entertaining. So Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 were good because he was able to push the bar with a bigger budget. Problem is when Guardians 3 dropped. And he's like, well, at least I can just show off my cool music playlist. But now, I've turned Peter Quill into an annoying drunk, Rocket into the identity crisis, and introduced one of the worst things ever in
And
the MCU,
his
which
brother.
is Animal Blank T. Okay?
Yeah, and then of course his brother. His
It's
brother
just,
seems to get more influential in every movie.
The way they undercut Adam Warlock and turned him into a big baby was the worst thing ever for Adam.
You think about the 3 times that Adam Warlock was teased in previous films, and I was always like thinking, well, they're going to really do this right because they're building this up a lot. Of course, we also saw them building up, the guy they had to get rid of for the domestic situation he created, because we were supposed to have an entirely different saga that was supposed to, gin up, rather
Council
than
of Not So
Or
Read.
whatever.
Yeah. And look, I mean, none of us cared about the direction that they were going back then, and we don't care about the direction they're going now. And you cannot show me 25 chairs and expect me to be excited.
Right. Over 6 hours
Yeah.
of chairs.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So
Yeah.
regardless, back to the practicality of films. The only way you can really understand what you're making is to have a plan to begin with and to know who your audience is. And the argument for the success of Barbie was that they knew who their audience was. And the film clearly wasn't made for me. I was not a part of the male feminist audience that was excited for that film, but that's okay. You got to make a film for everybody. And
I saw that movie and I hated it.
Yeah, I went and saw it at a special party event, and I hated it more, probably. But look, the sheer volume of gay dudes and the cocktail swimming wine moms that were in there was extraordinary to me, because they played it up as a party, an opportunity for a communal experience with your own kind, and I was not that kind. But that doesn't matter. You know the audience what your audience is. Superman has basically shown me, especially in its last trailer, it does not know who the Superman audience is. It doesn't. This film isn't made for me, a true Superman fan. I never enjoyed the dramatic switch that happened in the 90s at Marvel and DC, where they depowered the males and centered the females. And that happened twice, once back in the 90s, and then once again not that long ago. And by changing who your audience is, or trying to appeal to a new audience and not one that you grew organically, means that you're going to make the same mistake in film. And that's what everybody said was going to be the problem with Marvel, because they erased decades of material that they could have used that would have been available to the real fans, and put in favor female-centered stuff. And the weird thing is, they didn't use the good females.
No.
If you know anything about the books, I'm like, wait a minute. Halle Berry, Storm. I mean, I could go through a list of these wonderfully amazing Rogue. I loved Rogue. I mean, there's these wonderfully powerful, sometimes overpowered, especially in the X-Men world, females that you could focus on, and yet they didn't. And I think that's why.
They traded out Jubilee.
Oh, yeah.
Or Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Which was insane.
So bad.
Yeah, the JoJo Siwa representation in that.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, as far as Jubilee goes, I remember in the animated show, Jubilee could never get her powers under fucking control. So it makes you wonder, someone who doesn't know how to use her powers, or someone who knows how to use her powers in a way that would shock even Deadpool.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Fox's X-Men's portrayal of Rogue. I think while not perfect, very well done. That actress went on to do amazing things in True Blood. But setting all of that aside, I look at the failures of the modern superhero film, and they all come down to casting, as you suggested. But the reasons for the casting are the things that are even more egregious.
Vile.
And
Word is
and
vile.
vile's a good choice of word. I always try to use slightly lessened powered words in certain circumstances, but high power words in others. I'll say I just found everything made after Endgame to be distasteful and not aimed at fans. And I think that's because a bunch of fake fans materialized. And I remember when Gary was on this, man, I want to say in 2022, Gary was focused on this, Nerdrotic, that is, was focused on the idea that there were all these fake fans that were all pretending to be experts all at once. And there were a bunch of newcomers, which were also amongst those fake fans, that, were trying to catch up with what was being considered cool at the time. And that worked, like the FOMO culture, that worked to the very end of Endgame. But it was already trailing off because I would say after in the Infinity War stuff, from that point forward, I was like, okay, they need to end it here. Endgame has to be the end. It has to live up to its name because they're out of road. They're obviously out of ideas, and they're centering the wrong characters for future use. And boy, did that turn out to be accurate.
Oh,
Anyway.
yeah.
I can go on forever on this, so you
Yeah.
got to shut me up at some point.
To move on. Look at what we got coming.
Woohoo!
So,
Oh,
yeah, I know, Tony. Deep breaths.
Dio.
Deep breaths.
Morty. Morty.
2.0, I got to say, I'm looking forward to. I loved the first one.
Yes.
My mom hated it because it scared the living daylights out of her, and it gave me the opportunity to say for the next couple of days, "Hey, Mom, remember Skynet? Hey, Mom, how's your phone? Is your phone watching you?" I got so many opportunities to tease my mom after she watched that movie. So it was a great, and I can't wait to see the second one. But the first one was a great wake up call to, if we keep doing this, maybe this could happen. And it's funny, out of all the movies that we get warned about, we still don't give a damn. We still keep pushing the technology.
We's a
So
broad word, but okay.
I was about to say, are you speaking on behalf of the human race? Because I don't know.
No, I'm very much
2.0.
I'm very much excited for. And we talked backstage about this actually before we went live, and I am so much looking forward to Megan too. I've been looking forward to this since the first film because I knew it was a dead ringer for a sequel or a threequel. I think there's a lot of road here, and I think they have people who understand this character. They have actresses that seem to understand this character as well, and I think the performance is going to be even better this time around because the young actress that plays Megan is so much more mature and has probably a even stronger handle on it.
And I noticed in the commercial, she still plays the role of Megan very well, where she's obsessed with the protecting the girl, and she still wants to kick the aunt's ass.
And look, as much as I would normally, call out things for being girl bossy, the superpower abilities of Megan are understandable, and the true side of motherhood to rise up against and use every bit of her strength and wit that was also commendable. Like I said, I love the movie. I like the idea of the future. I think this is going to be a big horror winner this year. It's not going to make, superhero money, but it's going to do very well, and I'm excited for it. It's hard. It's weird because I don't get to often talk very positively about films these days, but this
Horror
one
is making a comeback.
it's making a comeback. Yeah.
It is.
If I have to say another horror film that I look forward to, it wouldn't be this summer, but I found the very first one very enjoyable because I am a gamer. I look forward to the second Five Nights at Freddy's.
I'm looking forward to
That'll be good.
Terrifier 4.
That'll actually. Wait a minute. Okay, so that's really a thing then. All right.
I think it is. I mean, he left on the bus, man. He's going
We
somewhere
already
else.
pretty much
Do it all over.
covered James Gunn with Superman. I mean,
Yeah. Look,
the
one
one
last.
thing I don't understand is why did he bring in Crypto?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, Gunn is. This is Gunn's problem. His only true successes have been in ensemble films, in my opinion. And I look at this and I'm like, this is another ensemble film. This is Superman's Guardians of the Galaxy featuring James Gunn's James Gunn. So it's just getting, and look, I know that's a meme, but it's true. This guy is capable of one film style. He's capable of one story type. And this is I want it to be good, but my expectations are like the limbo bars on the ground. I don't expect anything of this.
The next one underneath it is very much falls under the first one for necessary. Jurassic World Rebirth. The
We have a
Scarlett
franchise.
Johansson lead.
And you just imagine that scene with with Alan Grant and there's John Hemmington. We have a franchise. I'm sorry,
Yes.
what? We
I
have a
don't know
franchise.
about anybody else, but I'm kind of sick and tired of Jurassic World.
Yeah.
The Jurassic Park saga, Jurassic World. It's done.
The 90s have come. The 90s have gone. It is time to move on.
I think you're right. Your instincts are correct on this film. Afterbirth is, as Putin's cat said in the chat, is going to be bad. You're going to be slipping around in placenta for this entire film, and it's not going to be well done. I don't need a remake of this film combined with the Meg and whatever else maybe they'll have the Velociraptors playing football somewhere. I don't know.
The Velociraptors are going to be doing their taxes. They're going to be that smart.
Yeah, I just don't see this. Look, this is going to be female centered.
Yes, Scarlett Johansson.
With a very masculine looking Scarlett Johansson at that.
And it doesn't have the
for this film.
Well, it doesn't have the comedic stylings of one Mr. Chris Pratt. There isn't anything there. And I think your term of unnecessary, 100% accurate.
This has been Culture Casino, and this has been The More You Know.
There you go.
Yeah, and then we got Fantastic Four. Everybody, the newest Pedro Pascal movie.
Lord of mercy.
Okay, so my Hollywood friends use the term open a movie. Pedro Pascal is incapable of opening a movie.
Sure.
I would say that Jurassic World and Scarlett Johansson, Scarlett's capable of opening a movie.
Correct.
Pedro Pascal is not. And I just talked very negatively about my expectations for Jurassic World. I think it's still going to make. The other problem with Jurassic World is, just to reflect back on it, is that everybody loves dinosaurs. So, especially kids and especially young boys. So I think it's still going to earn money, but it's still going to be stinky. It's like the Transformers movies are going to make money, but they're still kind of stinky. So, especially recently. Pedro fatigue.
Pedro fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but this film, again, Pedro can't open a movie. He's not the primary character. In fact, he's backseated throughout this. In fact, all the boys are. This has been
Galactus is the front seat because he's the key jangling.
Yeah, but he's not good jangling keys, and we can talk about that too. But when you look at this, it's going to be again, and again, it sounds like I'm misogynistic. I'm not. It's just in certain genres you can't effectively center females. You have very rare opportunities, like I described within the X-Men and a few other front and center female characters that can lead things. Fantastic Four isn't that. It's Marvel's first family. This is a family unit that comes together to confront whatever it happens to be. Yeah. And the problem is that is not what this film is about. So be prepared for Mary Sue Storm, as I said 4 months ago. And be prepared for, that's very convenient, by the way, 4 months ago, Fantastic Four. But be prepared for that, and be prepared for Silver Surfer eventually to come around and work together with Mary Sue Storm.
Like the first, like in the, I think it was the second Fantastic Four movie where they had Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. Norrin Rad is the Silver Surfer. Shalalalalalaball. Yeah, she was in 5 panels. 5.
And then
5
she
comic
was
book
next.
panels. She that's it. She was in 5 panels of comics. Nobody in their uncle, or maybe their grandmother or mother, I don't know. Nobody'd ever heard of Shalalaball. They had to make her a thing. Just for this movie. And I'm calling this movie Final Steps because I do believe this is the end of the MCU, and Doomsday will be the most expensive series of flops ever made.
I don't know, because I think they're probably going to try and spend more money on Secret Wars than Doomsday. Because Secret Wars, it's basically, I mean, Secret Wars is you're bringing the entire multiverse together.
Can we all agree on one thing, that everything in their mother doesn't need to be Rick and Morty? Okay, all right? Multiverse this, multiverse that, multiverse hit me with the wiffle ball bat.
You know, this is supposed to end the multiverse, or the beginning of the end of the multiverse saga's garbage. If you saw Thunderbolts, did you guys see the post-scene credits and the mid-roll credits scenes?
Where the Fantastic Four
Yes.
was
Yes.
taken off?
Yeah. Do you realize that that was so poorly received by the audience and projected the ending of the film that they had to reshoot very recently, just a few weeks ago, several scenes from this Fantastic Four film.
So
Not surprised.
they're patronizing the audience to the point to where it's insulting.
I gotta say, out of the Fantastic Four cast, I like the cast that had Chris Evans in it. That was a funny one. That was a good cast.
You know, the first 2 successful Fox releases for this, the first film was successful, the second film not so much. But Chris Evans was good. The guy that played in The Shield was a really good Ben Grimm.
Michael Chiklis.
Michael Chiklis, thank you. And even the guy who I'd never heard of before and never heard of since that played Reed Richards did a great job with the character.
Owen Gruffin.
There you go. And
he's a British actor.
1, he couldn't tell in either of those films, and 2, I'd never heard of him before nor after. But regardless, the final piece of that puzzle was a very concerned Alba, right? Jessica Alba. She was very good in the role. She just didn't look quite right. Regardless, they worked together as a family. They came together as a family unit. It was represented in that film and the sequel. The Dodge references in the second film were over the top and disgusting, but we'll leave that there.
Marketing.
Yeah, it was marketing, and at the time, you were getting product placement dollars. Do you think anybody in their right mind is trying to give Disney money for product placement in their film right now? I don't think so.
No, I don't think they would. I mean, unless they want to make their company go bankrupt.
Yeah. Anyway, those are the 4 upcoming films that are going to outline the summer. Although, when does Megan release?
I know F1 is coming out.
Yeah, F1's going to be great. I talked with that at length yesterday with
Mission Impossible.
Bo, the history bro. Yeah, that was actually, I enjoyed Mission Impossible. I mean, it certainly wasn't the perfect film, but might be the perfect end to an 8-film run. I think that it could have lost at least a half an hour of runtime, and that would have been real easy for me to make those cuts. In fact, I might eventually get a cut of the film that I can actually edit and make better. But when at the end of the day, the visuals, the cinematography, and everything tied to that was excellent. It just was too long, just far too long for the average audience. I think that when you start seeing runtimes get back down to 90 minutes or under 2 hours, I think that's just right where they need to be. I think the perfect video or movie length is 87 minutes. And I was actually disappointed in the length of How to Train Your Dragon because they added all that extra material. At the same time, I really enjoyed the nest fight, to be fair. So
I think as far as How to Train Your Dragon goes, if they had just, if I do recall, originally they wanted to just make it scene for scene live action of the original, scene for scene, exactly the same. But then more and more changes came.
Yep.
And in my opinion, had they kept it scene for scene, it probably would have pleased the audience a bit more.
Yeah.
The bitching and complaining about Nico, unwarranted, wasn't needed. I mean, yeah, she was different from what we were used to, granted, but appearance-wise, it wasn't that big of a deal.
I'm gonna add on to what you're saying there and say this much. To me, it wasn't even necessarily her appearance because, you know, she just happened to have a different pallor to her, a different shade to her. Her acting performance was very flat.
Yes,
in fact,
that it was.
In fact, I called her Zendaya face because she's one of the she's one of the planks of wood that we get out there that are replacement actresses, usually in roles that would have been cast in a different way.
I
Who
noticed
really
her
lack.
face of surprise and her face of smile or whatever were all pretty much the same.
Yeah,
but
yeah. But I'm going to say this: Nico Parker's mother is one of my favorite actresses, Thandie Newton. So, but again, I mean, this is all these nepo babies getting these gigs for zero reason because it certainly wasn't for her acting. Anyway, I don't know if we have a lot this summer other than what we've mentioned so far that we could get excited about.
yeah, I mean,
F1's going to be a sleeper hit, I believe. I think that's going to do really well.
I can't really say anything about F1 because as much as I love racing movies and stuff, I love racing games and racing movies. Gran Turismo kind of killed it for me. Because a lot of what they showed in the Gran Turismo movie was kind of like grandiose, but at the same time, not what actually happened, because it was based on a true story. But what they showed in theater wasn't exactly what happened. And for someone who actually enjoys racing games, like for me, I am a huge fan of Gran Turismo. Seeing that movie just really killed it for me. So since then, I haven't really seen any. I've stayed away from them. And I got to say, some of the movies, other than some of the ones that you're seeing right now, Megan and such, some of the other movies aren't really that I'm interested in, aren't really going to be coming out until much later. Like I said, Shin Godzilla is getting re-released in August, and then we have Five Nights at Freddy's coming out, and all sorts of stuff that have yet to be even named. And then of course you have.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you there and get you to halt. I was just going to say there is one film at the end of the year that I think will be something we'll be talking about. I think we'll be talking about the success or failure, I think failure, of the Wicked sequel.
Oh, I completely forgot about that one.
Yeah, Wicked for Good is going to be in theaters at the end of the year, November 21st. I think that the short window in the holiday season will benefit it because obviously that's right around Thanksgiving and leading into Christmas holiday, which means there'll be vacationing young people at that time. But I don't think it's going to do as well as people think, and I'm concerned for that future. And I believe they think they have a franchise in this, but what they have is a bunch of theater kids that got super excited to see the stage play that they always dreamed of being in actually on the screen. And they've taken a lot of liberties in the sequel. Things that were certainly not in the stage presentation, plus additional songs, plus a greater depth to Dorothy's character in this, and more expanded than what was ever on stage. So I think because of that, it's going to get some bad news. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the lady who plays the Wicked Witch in the first place. I purposely put her out of my head because she's just
Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, she's. I'm sorry. I look at her, and I see Dracula from like the black and white movies because of her nails and everything. It's just kind of she creeps me out.
Because she looks like Nosferatu.
Yes. She looks like freaking Nosferatu.
Somebody had to say it. I don't mind.
She looks like Nosferatu. Sorry. But she does. And it's... I really just can't wait for other better films. Like I said, I'd rather classics, that sometimes movie theaters will pull up for anniversaries and stuff. I'd more rather just watch those.
Well, I'll give you an example of one of those. We just had a return to theaters of a classic Star Wars film that actually made more money on a given weekend than Snow White. We had the return to theaters of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It made $34 million.
Good.
I think, Tony, you mentioned something backstage about us being jaded.
Yeah,
oh, you're talking about we are used to getting screwed over. That's one of the intrinsic issues to the industry as a whole, is because we are now, as audience members of our generation, no longer interested in what they're going to be rehashing because it's like the boy who cried wolf. If you cry wolf too many times, nobody's going to believe you whenever it really shows up. So, even with the way they made Galactus look, I'm not interested. Even with the fact that Superman's got the classic costume on, I'm not interested. Jurassic World, it's not 1995 anymore. The true successor to Jurassic Park was Jurassic Park 2, The Chaos Continues on Super NES. Fight me. I'm not worried about this. There is no instance, unless something is like truly fuckballs amazing, am I going to be like, oh, now I have interest. We are so used to this. And, then you got some stuff that's a little bit above mediocre. Case in point, Animaniacs for Hulu, right? Now, I went back and I decided just to go, okay, maybe I'm looking at this through rose-colored glasses. Whenever they were making fun of, let's just say, Mr. 47 with the Cyclops in the first act, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the pilot of Animaniacs from 1993, and I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch this episode. And I actually broke down the structure of the Warner Brother episodes featured in that episode from 93 and that episode of season whatever on the Hulu. And the comedic structuring, the writing, point for point, point counterpoint, was exactly the same. But the reason why it left a sour taste in my mouth is because I see so much political stuff online. So when I see somebody making fun of either candidate, Trump or Biden, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm tired of the over politicization. I'm tired of. We look through things through rose tinted glasses because we were younger. We weren't so saturated into the crap.
You say that, but then like we have a film coming up in July, my friend, that I know you and I would be keenly aware of back when we were younger.
Yeah.
That is maybe going to be such a disaster that it disgusts me. It's called Smurfs.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I know my niece is going to ask me to take her to that.
They're bringing the Smurfs back, which is very irksome.
And I think that that's why we're more cynical. Yeah. We're the world has worn us down in the last 6 years, especially, but I'd say the last 13 years, to be fair. I would say that we had the world going to hell in 2012. We just didn't know it yet. And from that point forward, everything just went sideways. The Fantastic Four, we have very low expectations of. You know, you've got, a horror version of our childhood in Bambi the Reckoning, coming out in July as well. You know, we have a underpowered Netflix version of Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, that's right. Happy Gilmore too.
And so as I go through everything that releases in July, headed into August, it doesn't get better.
No.
You mentioned a film, Scooby, that we were talking about in the background. I want you to kind of repeat what your thoughts are on The Naked Gun, which happens in August.
The Naked Gun, I don't. It's one of those movies that I don't think we need. I mean, if they want to redo it, great, but they better have the right writer and the right director. I honestly don't think we need it because Leslie Nielsen did it perfectly. You can't take a film like Naked Gun, recast, rewrite, all of that stuff, and expect it to be just as good as the originals. I'm sorry, you can't. Don't take something that it's not broken. If it's absolutely amazing, you don't need to do it again. Spaceballs. I am not looking forward to that one. So many of the first one for me was kind of iffy. I got a lot of the puns for aliens and all that stuff. The guy from Police Academy, everything, all that stuff I understood. Now, I honestly don't think it would make a lot of money because the generation that would watch it would not like it. There's way too many snowflakes. A lot of the most fun characters are no longer with us. And I see this as just a cash grab, like something Mel Brooks is just going out there to do for the hell of it, because he can. I see this as a quick cash grab. I don't think it needs to be done. I don't think Naked Gun needs to be done. I think they should move on from those movies and think of something original, something more fun, an area that we can head into that, even if we know where it is, hit an untouched area that we would love to just kind of explore.
Well, I mean, I think that the idea of going back in time to explore something else through a different perspective, like that's been treated well lately. I would give you an example of the television program on Netflix, Stranger Things. I would say that was hugely popular with good reason. But if you're looking for something more modern and something that is intriguing and something that they could make and turn out like a zillion of them for almost no money, we've got something to look forward to in Nobody 2. Mm-hmm. Nobody was brilliant. Nobody 2, I'm expecting to be equally so. And I like the actor that plays Saul Goodman in this role. I think he is a genius. And he's done many different roles, including being the business partner to the Dallas Mavericks owner in Entourage. He's done a lot. He's finally getting the rewards. And unfortunately, that's coming later and later in male actors' lives.
Yep.
And it's because they don't do male-centered entertainment anymore.
No.
I think for Liam Neeson, he's a great actor. I know he can do comedy. I've seen his stuff. The thing is, though, is I don't think it's the right role for him.
Understood.
I think that the role for Naked Gun for his character should really go to a different actor. Someone like him, he can do comedy. Yeah, he does a lot of range and stuff. But I just think that
I'm going to say it this
casting
way.
for that one just isn't right.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say it this way. I think that the qualities that Leslie was capable of, Liam Neeson doesn't possess, right? Because like the completely clueless like appearance that Leslie was able to convey to the audience at all times, Liam Neeson doesn't possess. He's very much too intense. In my so he doesn't really feel like a Draven, but maybe he is. Maybe he is. I have to say this, like, if you want to find a very dark comedy, very funny, we were talking about it pre-show, Gun Shy with Liam Neeson is very good. So if you get a chance to check that out, I would. You can see his comedy chops and his ability to be a little less intense. In fact, he's trying to avoid being intense in that film. So there's that.
Like another movie that'll be coming out, I don't know what year, the third Beetlejuice movie.
Which one?
Not looking forward to that. I thought the second one sucked.
Wait. Which film?
Beetlejuice.
Oh, thank you. I didn't mind the second film as much as it sounds like you did. I think that there's really no reason to make a third one, but the box office is overwhelmingly convincing to a studio that is kind of in desperation to make more money with less effort because they have a long road to hoe on the way back. So I agree with you. I don't think
hey, this is the first time that I've had work in like 650 years. All right, so I'm going to take it.
No, I understand that. Yeah, and we didn't say your name 3 times, so I don't know how you made your way here.
Yeah, God.
I have a backdoor access.
I didn't even realize that had changed.
Oh. I think it was great. But look, there are films out there in the future that may be good. Like I said, many of those I don't think that are going to be good, or actually the majority of them are Disney films. Like I don't think Tron Ares is going to be good. When that comes out just before Halloween, I'm prepared for massive disappointment.
I have to say though, for some movies that I am looking forward to, if anything, I will probably be too broke to see some of them though. Because there's way too many video games coming out that I want.
Oh, there you go. Well, look, that's better.
Go.
That's better reasoning than anything else I've heard for not seeing something. Exit stage left, Jizzy.
Hey! What? Watch your mouth.
Well, we're coming up to our 90-minute point.
Oh boy!
And
boy.
I gotta say, it was awesome having you here.
Yeah, I feel like I was a dominant jerk face.
Oh no, you were absolutely pleasant.
I was far too
You
chatty.
were dominant. We were just happy to have you on. You and I. Now, if it was just you and me, we've been going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I know. You're a very argumentative young fella.
Yeah, it was absolutely great to have you here. Hopefully, you'll be able to come on again sometime in the future.
It's my pleasure. If we talk about these things that are in my favorite wheelhouse, yeah, of course.
I like to try to keep my guests accommodated. I always like to check and make sure that they're okay with whatever I pick.
Oh no, look, you could spring anything on me. Believe me, normally on shows that's what they do. So, but like I said, I mean, if I'm informed on a subject, I'm happy to talk about it. If I'm not informed, I'm usually trying to cram as much information as I can in the background. So I will be so. But I'm very much looking forward to Mr. Stark of Iron show, which is coming up here in moments. Momentitas, senoritas. So
Yes, he is
Yippee
such a
Bob.
wonderful person. He is a great producer too.
yeah.
Tony,
Hmm.
you're first. What you got going?
Oh, well, see, this is a part of the movie where I get to be a bit of a dominant asshole. A lot of people, they like to go, hey, everybody, plug your show or whatever. You know, well, I got this thing happening at 9. Check out my channel. As the chat's running out the door, I firmly believe in the power of a commercial. Everybody should have one. You need to get me one, Scoobs. You need to get me one, Culture. I know you have a couple of commercials for your ads and stuff. I think the Punk Waddle has done. But I digress. This is how you plug, guys.
Hi, this is Alf here, and I thought we were going to be talking about something important.
Were we?
Yeah, a commercial. That's right, a commercial.
Oh, that's right.
A commercial. Hi, this is Ginger Wolf.
Hi.
She's our resident Black Widow of the Stark and Iron channel, where you'll find parodies, songwriting, voice acting, puppeteering, and a heck of a lot more. Maybe a little pole work, maybe a little fire eating. Maybe, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just like enough to add like a little spice to the pot.
A little spice to the pot. How do you like your chili? Do you like your chili hot?
I eat little peppers.
I like my chili so goddamn hot you can cook a hog's ass with a spoonful.
So you be like me?
Oh yeah, just like our great Ginger Wolf thing.
Yeah.
That's right. So check out the Stark of Iron channel, where yeah, Snowed Up wanted a commercial of us. This is what you get.
Yeah.
We're totally cutting the last bit.
And join us for Stark Saturday Matinee, where we will be singing some radioactive classics, alongside maybe having a little alien invasion with Alf, and perhaps another little gray guy happening very soon within the course of the next 15 minutes. And if you like the kind of content that we like to shill out over there, then feel free to support my little humble corner of the internet, as I am doing this full time. Crazy, right? I know. We hope to see you over there at Stark Saturday Matinee within the course of the quarter hour.
This little commercial.
And yes, it is very Tucson.
Casino, you have been Culture Casino. You have been an amazing guest. Why don't you tell us where you're going? What's up next?
Well, actually, I unfortunately I didn't know Stark was doing a show immediately after this. I should have known though, because it's regular occurrence. But I am headed immediately over to my friend Deleted Scenes show for a few moments just to say hi and congratulations. And then I am off for, recording myself. I launched a new channel recently, but of course you can find me on the original Culture Casino, where we are really close to 40,000 now. So that would be wonderful if you could go by there. If you are unfamiliar with me, you'll want to watch a couple of videos. Join the channel. You don't have to membership join, just sign up and subscribe. And then check out the new channel where I am redoing the idea around quote unquote red pill and manosphere content with 1 to 3 ladies reacting to clips that would normally get some really harsh, ridiculous answers and reactions, where we just approach it from a more civilized manner of looking at modern dating and the issues around relationships. So I think most people will enjoy what we're producing, and we've only got 2 videos and a clip out there so far. I have a feeling this is going to go for a long, long time. So do check out Culture Casino and the new channel, Campione Reacts, Campione. It's Italian for champion reacts. Go check it out.
Magnifico.
And let's see. Next week is the last week of June, I believe. Right, Tony?
That is a Texas size 10-4, good buddy.
So that means next weekend on Saturday, we will have on SCOOBYPUP'S podcast, Stu Penzo and Zax.
The guy for the Circle of Jerks and the guy from Portside.
I know that guy.
That's an interesting feller.
Oh, yes. So we're going to have those 2 wonderful boys on. Of course, Tony, you will be joining us whether you like it or not.
How dare you twist my arm.
And hopefully we'll have a damn good time over there, because those boys know a little bit of everything, and I'm going to run them through gaming.
Oh, they are well informed. They are a big circle.
Oh, they are so fun to be around. They are so fun to talk to. I've been on their shows multiple times. I got to say, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. So next Saturday, we will have on Scooby Pups podcast, Stu Penzo and Zach's. During the week, I don't know if I'm going to be doing any barcades because I know I've been saying that I'm going to start them up again. I've been very, very, very busy because during the summer, in July, I will be moving houses, moving from one house to another. So we're currently at the moment just kind of like looking at places to move to. So if I'm not too tired, then I'll probably hop on and do a barcade. If I do, I'll definitely make an announcement on Twitter and YouTube. So keep an eye out for those. Otherwise, it has been a great afternoon. Like, subscribe, follow. Thank you, Culture Casino, for coming on. I hope we can do this again. And all of you, have a nice week. Thank you for coming into the doghouse.
Bye. Have a wonderful time.